Now what I need to do is start laying out and working on the legs. Now I want to take a minute here and make sure I get a good orientation of the legs, what I will deem as the front and how they will look around each side. So I need to take a couple things into consideration. One, we have this veneer edge that we put on here to give us a nice grain pattern on this one side. That needs to be on one of the flat sides, so it either needs to be facing front or facing to the side. It can't be on any of the inner two sides because they are going to get tapers, and if it was on the inner side we would take that veneer right off doing the taper, so we got to keep that. Plus we want to keep the most attractive grain facing towards the outside of the table, less so on the inside, so we need to figure in those things. I think what I need to do is first determine, so I'm liking that. I got some nice straight grain here. There's a little gap here which the taper will take off, so I think that's good for that one. So what I need to do is double check to make sure taper, oh no, together, and I will go ahead and I'm going to take a look and just walk around, kind of just make sure this kind of looks pretty good from all angles. And yeah, I don't think it looks too bad. Yeah, I think we look pretty good. So now that that's done, I'll bring these four together. Okay, and the markings there are going to be the tops. So now that we have that done, we're going to determine what the final taper length is going to be. So if I go back to my original plans here, just to get an idea of the taper we kind of want it. So here is our taper. Give you an idea. So I have the depth here that I want. I'm going to mark that. So what I have here is the mark. This is what will be left. This is what will be removed. Now, all I'm going to really need to lay this out are these marks here and the start mark. But on one leg, I'm going to draw the lines too, just so I can get a representation of whether or not this will look good. And then those lines will kind of help, but they're not really necessary to make the cuts. So what I'm going to do is I then need to find where the taper should start. And that should be just kind of a little bit below where the apron ends. So I not only have to take the apron into account, but also take in the decorative trim. Okay, so there are the marks, the lines. This is just kind of to give me an idea. I don't know if you can see it, but I think that'll look pretty good. So now what I need to do is I need to go ahead and lay out these marks on the rest of the pieces, on the bottoms and up here on the top. There are a couple things I want to do to these legs. I went ahead and I marked the tapers, start, stop, as well as the mortises. So, there's one other thing I kind of need to do. One is cut, while the blanks are square, I want to go ahead and cut for the banding. Now, that being said, I got to take some things into consideration when cutting the banding for this. One, I am going to be curving the inside corner, so therefore there has to be enough of the banding on the inside of the legs to carve out so you can still see that banding. So these cuts are going to have to be deeper than these face cuts here, which can be much shallower. Then I will fit a piece in for the corner. Okay. Now, that gives me a couple different ways of cutting this groove. One, I tried my one saw, and it didn't quite give me the thickness that I want. So I want to see if there's a way that I can get a thicker cut using one of my chopper blades. I think one chipper and the thin blade actually might just give me enough. But I'm going to set up my sled. I want to go ahead and try to cut these tonight so I can also drill the mortises. And hopefully call it a wraps for the night. I'm just going to go ahead and make this cut. But that cut is much deeper than, say, that cut, and that's because of the leg getting cut off. Plus I want some added room for when I go ahead and mill down or round over the leg. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the cut on this side. Okay, there we go. So two sides are long, and it's just held on by that little piece of wood, but it will strengthen up once I put the inlays and stuff in. The legs have marked. They've been cut down here for the taper and the inlay, and I am chopping out the mortise. So what I've done as my fence, I don't really have a real good fence for my drill press yet. I plan on building one, but I have this piece of 2x2 poplar or 2x3 poplar, whatever it is, as my straight edge. And then when you work on this, right, it tends to get tipsy because the table's not that wide. So what I just did is I put a clamp, a wood clamp there to help support that edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drill out this mortise down. I have my depth stop set. The mortise is, I think, the mortise is about 3/4 of an inch deep. So I'm going to go ahead and drill out the holes at each end and then remove the waste in the middle. That will get the bulk of the wood back out, and then I'll show you how I go ahead and clean that up with a chisel. Went ahead and drilled the first hole. I'll go ahead and drill the second hole. Okay, both holes. That's my dog walking away. Both holes are drilled, and now I'll go ahead and I'll remove the waste in the center. I'll set this up and I'll come back and I'll clean out this, what's left. And that'll make a nice clean mortise. Now that I removed 90% of the material from the piece of wood. I've kind of lined this board up with the edge of the holes, so the only thing protruding is those portions that weren't cut by the drill press. So I'm going to take my widest chisel, which is a 1-inch Stanley. I mean, I don't really have super expensive chisels. I will get probably better chisels, but these will always kind of be my knockarounds. I'll always keep them. They work great. And I'm pretty happy with them. So what I'm going to do is just hold this flat, right? So I'm holding this flat, and I'm just going to go down and pare away the excess. Basically just cleaned up along that line. I'll go ahead, do the rest of them. They're really no different. I'll flip it around, do the other side. I'll just go through all 8 of them. So, and I'll have to do 16 setups, 1 for each side. Now, I'm going to leave the ends of the tenons round. I could true them up here, but I usually round the tenon. It's just kind of easier than squaring this up. It's all hidden. You'll never see it. So, one of the things I'm deciding to do to kind of speed things up in the alignment process is I have these 3/16" dowels that I'll put in the end like that. And that'll help me bring the board up, pull them out. Now I'm lined up better. And as the same as last year, I'm not too happy with them. They're not exactly real good. I was hoping to make better progress on my mortises than I did last year. I was really hoping to glue the thing up without epoxy to be as a gap filler. I don't know. I don't think I achieved it this year. And I'm a little disappointed in myself. Though I haven't done any mortises since the last time, so it's not like I had a lot of practice. And I think I just really need, I think the best way that would work for me would be using a router or a mortising machine. So I think maybe I'll look into 2 things. Getting a mortising attachment for the drill press or a mortising machine. But until then, I think I should just take the $25 or whatever it's going to cost me, $30, probably maybe even $85, I don't know, for a good spiral, carbide spiral bit to make do until I get a machine. Just not happy with them. What I'll do is I'll cut them as snug as possible via the actual tenon. So I'll cut the tenon to fit as snug as possibly into each mortise. I'll custom fit it for every mortise, and then as an added gap filling ability, I will epoxy them in. Like you can see, like right in here, it's kicking out. This side, you can still see some of the marks left by the drill. There's some bumps. So I just think it could have been better. It's one of those things that's just going to take practice.